In revolutionary France, a name could kill faster than a blade. Captain Jean Morel understood this well, because Jean Morel did not truly exist. His real name was Jean-Louis de Beaumont, born into a minor noble family whose lands had been seized and whose relatives had already vanished into prisons or graves. When the revolution erupted, Jean burned his birth records, destroyed his family's seal, and adopted a common name. A noble officer could not survive the new France. A citizen soldier could. Jean fought bravely, not out of belief in revolutionary slogans, but because survival demanded excellence. He led men against foreign armies threatening the Republic. He endured hunger, cold, and chaos. His soldiers trusted him. They believed he was one of them. At night, alone, he wrote in a small journal, 1792, "I fight for a nation that would execute me if it knew my name." The enemy was not the battlefield. The enemy was recognition. Jean avoided speaking of his childhood. He restrained his language, hiding education behind rough words. Once, after a victory, a young soldier laughed and said, "You speak like a man who read books before the revolution." Jean laughed too quickly. From that day on, he spoke less. The mistake was small, almost invisible. During a winter march, a soldier collapsed with a torn boot and bleeding foot. Jean knelt and, without thinking, tied the wound using his own handkerchief. It was linen, fine, embroidered with a faded family crest. Silence followed. One soldier whispered, "That's noble stitching." Jean froze. It was already too late. That night, Jean was arrested by his own comrades. The charge was simple: suspected aristocrat. Before the revolutionary tribunal, he faced questions without defense. Where were you born? Why are you so educated? Why do you carry noble cloth? Fear spoke louder than truth. Jean stood before the judges wearing the uniform he had bled in. "I fought for the Republic," he said calmly. "I led men. I killed its enemies." The judge leaned forward. "A wolf may fight wolves," he said. "It is still a wolf." The sentence was swift. Death by guillotine. On the morning of his execution, Jean was allowed one letter. He wrote no names, only words. "I lived as a citizen because my name was forbidden. I die as a traitor because my blood could not change." The blade fell. The crowd cheered. Another enemy of the revolution was gone. Years later, military records were reviewed. Captain Jean Morel was listed as loyal, efficient, and brave. There was no mention of betrayal. Only a footnote remained: executed during the terror. The revolution had killed one of its own defenders, not for what he did, but for who he was born as.